This is the Lean Builders Hoots on the Ground podcast with absolutely, positively no bullshito. Join us as we dig into exactly what lean construction is and how we can use these concepts and strategies in the field. This podcast will be different as we journey to job sites and mine the minds of lean builders, all in effort to pass forward building knowledge from those who have put their time in to learn a better way. Because that's just what lean builders do. What's up, y'all? Adam Hoots here, the lean builder, Hoots on the ground with no bullshito, and I have got an awesome show for you today. It's called the Tom and Jerry Show. You guys want to take it? I don't know which one of you wants to introduce us to the Tom and Jerry Show, but I'm dying to know exactly what that means.
Jeremy, where did it all start?
Yeah, it all started. Tom is the one who actually introduced me to lean, snuck it in on me many years ago, as many do. We were doing a project together. He was my project manager. And he said, "Hey, Jeremy, I want to try this thing." He came out here and I want you to put these boards up with the superintendent and put these lines on it. And here's some sticky notes. And look, we want to try to figure this out. And we did. We're like, "Oh, yeah, this works. This is great." He said, "Okay, cool." And the project was great. We actually won several awards for it.
Got to fly out to California.
Yeah, I got to fly out to California together. And I was like, "Man, that's good." Yeah, it's called lean. I was like, "Okay, it's last planner." "Oh, cool, man. Tell me more. Let's get into this." And I just took it and ran with it from there. And I
could tell Jeremy loved structure, and it was just like, I knew he would embrace it. I didn't want to give him I gave him just enough to know how to get going and figure it out. Yeah. So it was pretty awesome.
Essentially, I like to tell this story too. When me and Tom first started working together too, we weren't even really friends yet either. And so he's sitting there. I remember, Tom, you wanted me, because Tom taught me, mentored me a lot on how to do like the old, I'm going to say the dirty word, CPM scheduling. But he taught me a lot about P6 scheduling. And so he's in there and he wanted me to change something. And he was just beating around the bush about it. I could tell he didn't want to like engage in a way that says, "Hey, he did something wrong." And I did something wrong. I didn't do it right. And I'm from the military. Eventually I was like, "Tom, just tell me, just yell at me. I don't care. Like, I'm good. I got thick skin. Tell me what it is you need me to fix. And I promise I'll fix it." And after that, he was like, "Okay, well, this is what I need." I'm like, "Great, done. I'm your Huckleberry. I'll make it happen."
I'm your Huckleberry. What does that mean?
So, I don't think it's a term that's just here, but I'll do anything for you. I'm your man. You need somebody to kick the door in with you, I'm right there behind you.
It's the whole Tom Sawyer reference.
Yeah, okay. So Tom and Jeremy show clearly revolves around lean quite a bit. You guys worked with each other back in the day. Tell me, go a little bit deeper about the show. What is the show? What's it feel like? What's the air between you two? How do you guys operate together?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. Just as Jeremy had that sort of insight on telling me what he needed, I've frustrated Jeremy, I'm sure, plenty of times because it took me a while to articulate what I needed. And I had to have this crazy vision, like, "Hey, let's do this event, and we're gonna do." I had this vision. I had a hard time explaining to him what I wanted, and so he would go down the path. I'd be like, "Can we just nudge over here a little? I'm gonna pivot just a little." And it took me a while to realize that I like sculpting. I'm a visual artist too. My training is an architect, and I'm comfortable with iterations. And so I got better at trying to articulate that vision so Jeremy could then run off in that direction. And that so we've had our own sort of personal growth moments while doing this thing together, this lean stuff. And then found an awesome forum with LCI's chapters, the Community of Practice, and the guy who started it, he's going to be at Congress this year too. Pass the baton. He needed someone to step up. And I think I might have been the first one he talked to, and God, he got off easy. Now we're trying to pass the baton again. And Jeremy was like, "All right, sign me up." And we just started, as we went along, we realized the chapters are really like event production teams. The whole point is to meet. The whole point is to get together and get people together. And we just started doing one after the other, showing up, figuring it out. And like, we were like the dynamic duo. Other people were volunteering, but the two core doers are right here in front of you. And we were just trying to beat the drum and make it look easy and fun and get other people on board.
Yeah, I know a lot of us are super passionate about lean construction, but it always seems like the community of practice is where it really comes out to see who is putting in that time, effort, and energy. And I know here locally in the community of practice, it might start with one person, but then somebody else inevitably comes and picks up the ball and gets fired up and re-energizes the organization. I guess, which of you two is the person who is constantly re-energizing?
I don't know.
I like to say that it's a lot about gentle nudges because we're all volunteers. So everyone is like one terse word from being out the door. Because tensions rise high when you're trying to like move stuff and no one's got any bandwidth. So I feel like Jeremy's great at being tactical and getting stuff moving. I'm constantly trying to get everyone into the group, like just give them opportunities to tee up and run with it. So we kind of, in a way, have a yin and yang on that. Which has been
we got our LCI Community of Practice is pretty lucky too. I'm not sure how most of them are structured, but we've got talent from all different spectrums, from graphic design, architectures. We got architects on us. We got trade partners passionate about trying to do stuff at the youth level. We actually, interesting too. Tom's telling me that most of the community practice aren't structured this way, but we got positions for a youth engagement, right? We're trying to, we have one individual, that's his job, is to go out and how do we engage the youth? How do we engage college? We've got a social media engagement. How do we go out there and engage social media? We've got people trying to engage owners. We have architects trying to engage the architect community. So we've got this great group of people with all these talents that Tom brought together. And we're just really passionate about it. And so when we put events together too, maybe that's where I'll be the structure, but we try to make it a point that if we identify a champion of that event, then we're going to let them, what's your idea? And I think it's beautiful the way we do it too, is once that champion's identified and the whole group gets together, we get around that person and we elevate them up to that event, whatever it is, whatever their dream is, their idea, we try to help make them happen. That's the other cool thing about the community of practice too. We're not just out there, okay, let's do a coffee. No, let's do something. Let's do something neat. Let's figure out something different. And the world is our oyster on this. We even did one that we somehow managed to tie it to lean, but it was all about dealing with the city and the permitting process. And we had a contact with the former city representative who was in that role for permits. We got him out and he just put on a whole show about how we make that process easier for people, because it's tough in New Orleans. I'm sure it's tough everywhere, but it's tough there. And that was just an event that somebody had an idea, and just the things he was talking about somehow got tied back into our lean principles, our lean tenets. And that was just one idea, not necessarily lean directed, but that individual had the idea, and we said, great, let's make it happen. And we surrounded around him and elevated that person up and made sure it was a good show.
That's what it's all about. That's what lean builders do. Sorry, Tom, did you have something else?
No, I was going to say, if I can share a screenshot or a visual, I'll tell you, this has been, I feel like, our secret weapon, so to speak. Let me see if I can figure out how to do this. Sure. I think our secret sauce is trying to make it easy to volunteer. And it just happened that when the pandemic started, I got in touch with Brian Winningham, who's been an awesome supporter of our local chapter. And he was doing this thing with Zoom and Mural and making some fun events. And so I was like, let me see what that's about. And we got Mural. And so tapping into my visual background, 20 some years of putzing around with CAD and just also hand drawing, hand art, and tapped into that to structure this big visual management board for our team. And this is like the third generation of this. And it's like A3, for those who know what that is in the lean spheres. It's our strategy board. It's our mind trust. And so I'll dive in real quick because I won't go into all this, but we keep our roster at the top. If you want to volunteer with us, you got to at least put your name up there and your contact info. We spent a lot of time chasing people to get on the bus who we thought were interested, but the people who actually took that little step, we knew that they were engaged, and we made sure that we did what we could to support them and bring in great ideas. And so we had, doing the whole future state, we just have these awesome brainstorming sessions. We make the most out of that little 1 hour and a half that we get together every so often and just collect all those ideas. And I think by making it fun, making it easy to see where we're going with the discussion, we just got a lot of traction. And so we had a pretty ambitious set of goals this is like from last December, we put this together. And the reality is Congress took most of the air out of the room. But anyway, this is like an example of just how we figured out what was our mission, starting with this thing in the middle, building people to build better. And then people had these different passions they brought to the table for engaging youth, being intentional with diversity, equity, inclusion, engaging more trade, so people who weren't at the table yet, and then making sure that we made the most out of Congress. And of course, we got to pass the baton that build that secession strategy. But this is how we kept it together. This is put it in one place where people can come to it when they're ready to volunteer, when they have that little moment to give a little bit back to our chapter. They don't have to go hunt this down. They don't have to find that email. We put it in one place, all of it.
Yeah. So would you credit this for getting you folks so fired up about the community of practice there in New Orleans? Is that
This is like the backbone in a way. I think this helps us keep in mind, like, so one of the benefits is we've got this calendar here, and it was kind of like almost like pool planning. As we got further along, you knew you had to fill in the blanks and closer to your event. And so we made it where we knew we wanted to do one event a month. We wanted there to be a curriculum, so to speak, that we were touching on different topics. And so this was our big sort of playboard to work that out. Who's volunteering? What's the topic? And every time we met, and that's how we kept it fresh. I think made it so that we were working as a team. We were more than the sum of our parts.
Yeah, this is genius. You're using lean tools to inspire the lean community. You mentioned A3. I can clearly see the visualization here. What else? Can you take us through some of this document without kind of
Show them our
blowing
Kanban board.
Yeah, I love that too.
This is a work in progress. I'll say we're building the habit still. We haven't had as much action on here. If you go to our Congress planning team board, it's amazing to see what those volunteers have done. So creative, but yeah.
On the event side, I like it. It definitely helps though. If you go down to the bottom there, Tom, that's where I think we get a lot of use out of like how we move things from to do to doing to done. And each champion gets responsibility for moving their to do to doing to dones in our Kanban for each month. And we kind of cycle it through, or we have one at the bottom. So we look about 3 months out to really start getting in there, and then we move it up as it gets closer and closer. And then that's the thing too, we always encourage, like, anybody can put a tag on here to help the other person out. And then we come together to help each other. Like, even though I'm the event chair, I get certain responsibilities outside of my normal duties, like offense. So make sure Jeremy brings the poster board. And so we put stuff like that in there, so we each take a responsibility to move it.
So here's an example. We're hosting a happy hour right before Congress, because why not throw in some other task?
One more thing.
That we're going to be holding a happy hour. We're going to give away 2 tickets to Congress. We're in a position to do that as a COP, which is amazing. And we, as a team, we try to figure out what do we want to do? What is that going to be? And so this is some breadcrumbs from that discussion, like some late afternoon when we're all terribly tired, just trying to like pull out, okay, what is it that we can do here to be impactful, so it's worth our time here right now? And so just making sure they feel like they're engaged, I think has been one of our main successes from the volunteer standpoint, meeting them where they're at. But we also do a lot of polling, we've tried to, with the people in the community to find out what they want. And so that's pretty important too, right? We host these meetings. It's good to know what they want. I'm trying to see if we have, we'll do polling. We've done it different ways. Like when we had a happy hour last year, easy way to get input is you put some fun questions around the room and some blank stickies, and people figure out what to do. So we asked what were some pain points or opportunities they want to explore. It's a way of getting feedback on what could make some great events. And then we use that opportunity to just bring other ideas to bear as we're trying to onboard the planning team for this year's Congress. We asked everyone in that room to offer up some ideas of what they thought people should know about New Orleans. Just some great, letting people feel engaged, I think, has been a big part of that.
Does that say the food is that good? Is that what that says?
Indeed. You can be the judge.
I will be. Don't you worry about that. So take me down. Let's maybe switch gears and talk a little bit about Congress and get some folks fired up about showing up in New Orleans, learning about lean, eating the food clearly. Let's brag about it. Let's throw some teasers out there and get folks fired up. What do you got?
Jeremy, I'm going to let you lead off.
Okay. All right. So, man, I'll start with this there too. What I love is what Tom did when he came up with the idea. The theme is about gumbo, right? Gumbo and the ingredients, which I think is perfect because of how that ties into not just New Orleans, but like lean in general. So when you think about a gumbo, you ask any person down here, where's your favorite gumbo? Who makes the best gumbo? And you're going to expect to hear a restaurant. No, it's going to be mine, or it's going to be my mom's, or it's going to be my auntie's. It's never just, I don't ever think I'm going to go to a restaurant and grab a thing of gumbo. And the reason that was because gumbo is just collection, right? That is the definition almost of PDCA, right? In a cultural sense, we start off with something, we were taught something about how to make a gumbo from our parents, from friends, and everybody's got their own little twist, their own little thing, right? I like to throw a little habanero in mine because I like that kick to it, right? But that's mine. That's my gumbo. And then we put all these ingredients together and everybody's making it a little bit different. Even my buddy from Chicago, he took my recipe and he made his own little Chicago style portion of it. Now that's his recipe, right? That he has for gumbo. So That to me relates to LCI and the lean culture, because what are we doing? We're taking all these different things and pieces, we're putting them together in a pot, bringing it together to create this great recipe of stuff, right? This great thing. And then everything, it's always going to get a little bit better every time. And then with that though too, right? Like I don't just make a pot of gumbo by myself. Right? I'm not at home going, hey, I'm going to make some gumbo today. I'm going to take this 12-hour process and do it all alone. Nah, man, we got to bring in everybody, right? So we bring all our friends over, our family over, everyone comes together and we make the gumbo together. Each person brings over their own little special ingredients. We chop stuff up together, put it in the pot together. We drink around the pot while it's cooking all day and let it simmer. Then we enjoy that meal together. And that's leaning right there, right? That's that tenet of we bring people together. We each bring what we got to the table. We make something beautiful, and then we enjoy the results of that at the end. And that's why, man, when Tom picked that gumbo as a theme, I mean, that is perfect for our city. That's perfect for what we're talking about at Lean.
I'll give you another visual clarity on this one. Our planning team, when we started out trying to find a good theme, we wanted to obviously have a nod to New Orleans, but had a blank canvas. And so it's like, where do you go with that? And so my first instinct was to crowdsource. And so let me see if you seeing that beautiful cloud there?
I am now, yep.
So this is a crowdsourced cloud of pain points and opportunities.
This is amazing.
And there were different groups we tapped into that we had access to by email, by LinkedIn. And the yellow is sunshine and the gray is the pain points and clouds. And so we just got a bunch of different ideas of what people were into with lean. And then to organize this one late night, like before a planning team meeting, I was like, all right, this has to have some structure. So I just started moving things around, and these areas of interest popped up, like developing buy-in, teaching and inspiring others. And I'm sure there's other ways we could have structured this, but as we zoomed out, we realized there's so many aspirations here. That's what we love about New Orleans. There's so many just rituals and traditions and so much different energy coming together, and then gumbo just clicked. Like we're in the gumbo. That's what Congress is.
Kind of looks like a little bit of gumbo there.
That's right.
Explain, what do you do to your gumbo, Tom?
Oh man, so I am married into the Cajun culture, grew up in Arizona, but my wife, and she's got Cajun, she's got agrarian Cajun and she's got the Bayou Cajun. And so it's a bunch of handed down, it's different recipes that got handed down, and it just depends on what mood we're in, but we'll either pick Moma's or Mimi's, the recipe, and go for it. But it's always got to be crab, man. I'm a sucker for seafood, so it's always a crab gumbo.
Yeah, and so so for those of you who don't eat gumbo all the time or aren't Cajun or from that part of the area, maybe you can help me with my South Carolina understanding, because I'm starting to piece it together. Gumbo is just like a little bit of everything tossed in a soup, and it's got like a tomato base. Is that right? Or
no, that's like you'll get run out of a room if you
get a little vulnerable here, New Orleans. Bear with me.
Every gumbo starts with the roux. That's what starts with the bacon. Roux is basically just oil and some flour, and the darker you make it, the darker your gumbo is going to be. So some people like a dark gumbo, some people like a lighter colored gumbo. So the longer you cook it, the more dark it's going to be. And my mom tricked me into this too, though. She taught me to make gumbo, because making a roux is not easy. You got to sit there and you cannot stop stirring it, or that will burn. And so I remember as a kid, she would make me make the roux, and I just stir and make it all right, and we'd have the great gumbo. Then I grow up and I'm on my own. I'm in the store one day and I see they make pre-made roux. I'm like, well, Mom, why? I said, Mom, why didn't you tell me this is easier? She goes, because that's not how you make a gumbo, but now you know how to make a roux, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's true. Okay, that's true. I put all that work in there, learning how to do it, and I could have just bought it. But no, you're right.
Teach a man to fish.
Amen. So I hear you comparing gumbo to lean. What is the roux in lean?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
I think it's optimism for me. I think like continuous improvement is tough. It sounds easy, but it's a lot of setbacks and getting up and moving forward. And lean is a lot about that. Learning about lean takes that mindset. So for me, it's optimism that pulls it together, and finding the energy, finding some other people who can help you stay positive, even when there's no reason to be positive in a situation.
Sounds like a lot of stirring, a lot of upfront work, huh? What about you, Jeremy? What are your thoughts there? What's the roux?
I don't want to say, I know one of the tendencies is respect for people. I know sometimes that gets overused. So I'm just going to say people more like people is the base of what we do and how we use it. And it's because you respect for people can mean a lot of things. And I know it means a lot of different things to different people, but it's all about how do we elevate people? We bring people together. And like Tom said, that positive way, right? Our industry is plagued with a lot of negatives, from the suicide rate to our abuse of alcohol and drugs to just people working too hard, right? It's you got to bring people together in a positive environment. Find some way to be a positive environment, right? Whether it's bring people in, walk in the morning, you're telling them thank you, good morning every day, walk around the job site, start every meeting with some kind of positive meeting start to how we need each other. And it's all about that for me, is that base right there and bringing together a team. Healthy conflict's okay. I'm not saying that we can't always have some conflict. It's healthy conflict, right? We're coming together at the end and still having a beer and saying, hey, we're getting this together.
So, Tom, I couldn't imagine all the pressure that you're under leading the charge for Congress this year. We got 1,500, 2,000 people come in. It's the best of the best in the lean world. We're all looking up to you as our leader for this event. What kind of pressure is that? Not to add to any of that 2 weeks beforehand, but what does that feel like, and how are you dealing with that?
Thanks for framing it that way. It is. It's funny you say that. A lot of it's self-imposed pressure, I'll say, because I'm a recovering perfectionist and just want it to be right. The opportunity is awesome. But the more I've been with some of these lean, I guess, trailblazers and some of these podcasts and Jen and Jess, I've embraced the messy a little more. And really, this is a collaborative effort. I'm just you call it maybe I wouldn't even say I'm the tip of the spear, frankly. I'm probably more further back. There's so many volunteers who are mobilized to make Congress awesome. And because of that, it's awesome just to see how it's come together. And it takes a year in the making. Like they'll start the next Congress day, the next Monday after Congress ends. And so, yeah, I'm pretty psyched with where we're at. So I'm not as stressed as maybe I should be, but that's just where I'm at.
Yeah, embracing the messy. It's such a good concept to be able to just show up and have trust, have faith in the process yourself as a lean leader that you're going to make those right decisions. And it's a team collaborative effort is what I hear you saying.
Very much, very much.
Yeah, I love that. Let's shout out some of the folks that are really making the most difference if we could here. I mean, starting with Mr. Jeremy, of course.
Oh, yeah. So Jeremy's definitely a willing volunteer. I signed him up for a dual role. I think at times he's a little frustrated, but he's stuck with it.
Then I ended up on a Gumbo team. I'm also now on a champions team.
A Drupal role.
You can always say no.
That is a hard thing for me to do. I have learned I got to create my own boundaries sometimes, because there was a point in time I think I got a little overwhelmed and Tom let me take a step back, but because I had so much going on, from helping with the Gumbo to helping with the champions team and the presentations I'm on. I got honored to be asked to be an assistant instructor with Christian and Eric. Like everything was just like, man, this is a lot. And I got to say no at some point in time. And eventually I hit that point, and Tom was really respectful of that and said, hey man, no problem, man. Let me help you and take a step back while you get some stuff in order.
No, you're good. We're a lean builder podcast.
Okay.
We're not a lean office podcast. We're in good shape with that.
All right.
Trying to learn my background.
Yeah, you do have the word no written on your shirt, by the way.
Yeah. The part of the last plan, being able to give a true and honest no.
But I was gonna share a screenshot of our roster, but I realized it has all their contact info on there, so I don't know. But I'm gonna shout out some names, and I'm definitely gonna give some kudos to these people when we're at Congress on the main stage. We have LCI staff who are just intimately involved with this, and Joan Picarello, she's the program development lead for LCI for Congress, and so she's the one who's nudging everyone gently to keep with it, beating the drum. And so I think half my inbox is Joan, and then it's the rest of my job. And then so we got people like Jose Garcia with Alberici Contract Constructors, and he's been our Learning Day champion. We got Kevin Lebrecht, who was a champion chair a couple of years back in Orlando. So he heads up the abstract review process with his insanely complicated Excel macro, and which is just phenomenal, quite a resource that helps us be a little bit leaner in the process. Blake Tormey with KHS&S and Michael Villar with the Neville Group, they head up our live labs, which is intended to bring some real learning moments for field leaders. And then Michael took on a dual role. He's also the champion coordinator, just because he had experience with it. And the champions, for those that don't know, are this like army of volunteers that get assigned to every presentation team to help them do their best. And so they're the cheerleader. They're the person helping all those presentations practice, encouraging them to do it again and what they can tease out to make the most of that opportunity. Because I think those who present at Congress, they're giving a lot of value, but they get a lot of value because they're reflecting on their story. Just an awesome opportunity. And those who embrace it get a lot out of it. Next up, I've got Natasha Schneitman with Southland Industries, and she partnered with Jeremy. I gave them dual roles together. And so the first one they knocked it out of the park was getting our keynotes lined up. And that was a lengthy process, and you got a budget to work with. But we had 2 awesome keynotes. Jeremy, why don't you tell us a little bit about the keynotes while we're at this spot?
My favorite one, Andreas Phelps, right? So that was cool. He started off at Congress giving that presentation that everyone was like, this is amazing, right? And every comment from those things was about how, hey, this guy should be a keynote. So we said, man, let's make this happen. And man, I tell you, it was just cool getting him on board, because it was like every time I went in to talk to him, or we went in to talk to him about coming and doing the keynote thing, it turned into a personal coaching session. So each one for me was like this great opportunity where like we got to learn something. I became a better person after talking to him. And then we get to have him as our keynote as well. And then Carla, she's an amazing speaker on leader. And Tom, I'm actually going to kick it back over to you, because I know you did more of the interviews with Carla than I did. And she's got a great book and stuff. So Tom, why don't you tell us more about Carla?
Yeah, actually, I want to reflect back on Andreas for a second. I think I like thinking strategically, and we as a group realized there was a real role that the opening keynote had. We wanted to figure out what do we need our keynotes to do? And the opening keynote needed to energize the room to get ready for this learning opportunity that is Congress. And so Andreas is the person that he fit the bill. Like, it was perfect to have sort of his sensibilities and his personal story of actually bringing lean into their own family. Into how they structured how they basically had downsized to a tiny house during the pandemic. And this is I love this story that it comes from his own like personal experience. This is like kind of this heartfelt thing, but he ties it well into the habits and behaviors that drive lean. And so he's got to get the room ready to absorb all that's going to come at them with the next couple of days of learning and sharing. Carla, we always felt like that keynote had to inspire, had to give everyone this inspiration to walk out the door. It's the last thing you do usually at Congress, and be ready to hit the ground running Monday, putting something into practice. And we were struggling to align on keynotes for a little while, the big one. And we wanted to make sure we had a diverse lineup. And I think we did our best. There was a time where we literally just had, I'll just say it, we had a lineup of older white men, and we realized we needed some female. We just needed a diversity in that. And so we started expanding our networks, tapping our networks. So it turned out, actually, I was the morning of like our voting, called up my wife. I was like, who are some inspirational women leaders that you look up to? And she gave me Carla Harris without even hesitating. And I started digging up some of these videos of her doing her keynote speeches, and it clicked. Like, this was a person who, from the finance sector, a completely different industry, was talking about leadership in a way that just spoke to the lean mindset. And so one of her titles eventually at Morgan Stanley was the Vice Chair of Global Wealth Management. A pretty distinguished career. She's had quite a few awards, and she's been recognized for her talent, and now she's giving back. And one of the things that she's offering is her hard-earned lessons on navigating people and how to, from as you're growing in your career, but then also when you're in those leadership roles. And so we're going to ask her to talk a lot about leadership and impactful leadership. But if you ever get a chance, she's got a podcast. She's got some awesome work that she's doing, like one of them was focusing on the impacts of access to Wi-Fi, or the lack of access to Wi-Fi during the pandemic, for people of lesser means and communities that were just marginalized and had no way of keeping their kids in school when there was no school. And so she shines a light where it needs to be. She's pretty inspirational. So I'm excited to have her at Congress.
Yeah, Strategize to Win. I just looked up her book. I'm going to have to go read that before I get there. Is that the one you would recommend, or is there another one that's better?
So actually, just hot off the press, I've got my copy in here. So she just actually made another one, Lead to Win.
Okay.
And this is going to touch on a lot of what we hope she'll talk about here at Congress. We teed up a sort of lean onboarding session and ran through a bunch of highlights to explain like what we're all about. And she immediately made the connection. I'll just say it was really fun being on that call, because she was one of the most gracious keynotes. I don't know what I envisioned talking to a keynote, but I just assumed they'd be super busy and this was their agenda. Man, I think we went 10 minutes over, and she was totally like gracious about that, and just embracing the opportunity. So she's really like one of the servant leaders, I feel, that's going to bring it that last day of Congress.
Man, you're getting me so fired up. I love meeting new people, and especially when they're people first, they're leaders. That's what it's all about. That's what lean builders do. Curious question for you. What of this year's Congress will be different than all the Congresses before?
Oh, we got a few of those, but so the other role Jeremy had with Natasha was what we ended up calling the Unconference, Congress Unconference. Jeremy, tell us a little more.
Man, okay, so that was another. I love that role just because I learned a lot too. So being on the planning team has been amazing, by the way, too. So all the people Tom's shouting out, I'm probably going to shoot myself for saying this on the podcast here, but I hope I get to be on the next year's too. Because like you meet so many people, you make so many connections, and you learn so much from all these people too. At the same time, all these people I look up to because between Felipe, you, and all these other people that come together, I'm like, man, those are people that I really admire, and I'm getting to actually sit and hang out and talk with them and learn from them. And
I'm only halfway through the roster.
Oh yeah.
We're going to get there eventually.
We'll get there. So Unconference, I get excited. Unconference was this idea that Tom came to me and he's like, man, we want to do something different. We want to have a session off to the side where it's a little more of a free-flowing experience. It's not just a presentation, it's interactive, it's people coming together, and it's almost like a lean espresso, as they're calling it, right? Where we're actually interacting with our audience. We're getting the audience fully engaged in the sessions. And he sent me out on a mission. He was like, hey, Jeremy, I want you to go out there, and this idea came out from Hal. There's something that Cindy Zhao came up with. Go and talk to these people, find out what it's about. And that was another cool experience I had too. Cindy just happened to be here in New Orleans. And so she sat and had coffee with me for an hour plus. And that turned into a whole nother learning experience for me where I got to absorb all this good info and be better from it. But so I took her ideas and I went and I talked to a bunch of other people. I talked to Jennifer about it. So I got their ideas. Hey, what is it that you see in this? And essentially what it is, it starts from the IT world is where it came from, where it's a conference without an agenda. It's a conference where people come together and they develop the topics together. A lot of it's coming from liberating structures where you do an open space time of thinking, choose with your feet topics, and the audience develops the topics together. And then you have different forms of engaging those topics, right? And so we had to give them some structure to it because we wanted to at least guide it in some direction of our 3 sessions that we got in place. But they do these cool things that were one of them, my favorite that I can't wait for, is called the Unpanel, right? And I hope that people listen to this podcast come join us for at least that session where it starts off with a group of people in the front with an empty seat. And we start talking about a subject and topic. And I don't want to give away too much just because I want people to be curious, but you come in, we start talking about the topic, and if somebody has an idea and they want to contribute to the panel, they get up and go sit down in that seat. One of the panelists then gets up and leaves the seat. And they enter and give you their portion, what they're talking about in that topic, and then just grows from there. And every time someone has to come and talk or wants something to say, has an idea, they get up and they go sit in the seat too. And the next person respectfully gets up and moves out of that seat. And so you get this wealth of knowledge, and everybody gets to get engaged with these sessions. So it's like a whole half a day on Thursday where we're going to get to do these type of things together and really bring people together and get into their minds.
I'll add, because I think it's worth giving a little bit of a teaser.
Okay, Tom, I didn't want to give away too much, but go ahead and give it.
There is. So we did have to have. So it's funny. There wasn't a traditional Unconference, and of course we wanted to be irreverent to that too. I was like, let's just be irreverent, Jeremy. You don't have to do what Unconference is when you look it up on Google. Yeah. And so we start out with this framework of what would be a really impactful discussion, just high level. And we said we came up with these 3 questions: why lean, why not, what next? And it's this idea, this cadence of let's explore why it's impactful for us. Who is getting the energy out of this? And if you have a negative thing about it, let's parking lot that till the why not conversation. And so it's evolved into 3 sort of phases. It's actually 5 sessions. We hope people sign up for all 5. And the idea is to explore together with other passionate lean builders and architects and owners these sort of big nugget questions. Where's the value? Why lean? Why not? Where's our stumbling blocks? And what are some first sort of steps to get past that have worked for people? And what next? Like, where's lean going? What's our vision? And hopefully we hope that kickstarts some follow-ups that maybe end up in people come back and talk about it on a webinar, next Congress, whatever it is, but keep the energy going. That's the key, is build something that is a catalyst for just helping people run with it.
Yeah, that sounds a little bit messy though, Tom, or does it make you nervous at all?
I kept pushing for more people in there. We're capped it now at, I want to say 100. It is going to be a kind of a sign up for it, where most of the sessions are open to everyone, but we won't be able to sign up for these because if they do fill up, it will actually be like we'll check your name badge on this one. It's the first go around, and it's an experiment. PDCA, plan, do, check,
control chaos.
But we have some great facilitators, right? We got some seasoned facilitators. Hal Maycomber stepped up, Rebecca Schnelling. You got Dan Fauché, who's dodged a lot of bullets in his lifetime.
Andreas will actually be in there too.
Being a little strategic, we had him as our opening keynote. I was like, can we just keep him for the day? Joe, and let's just hire him for the day. And that was easy, an easy sell. Andreas signed up for it. So you got this star power, these 4 facilitators. We've got some New Orleans music we're going to bring to the table. We're just going to make it fun. So I want to spend most of my day there. I've got other duties I'll have to run to, but man, that's the one spot I want to be on Wednesday.
Yeah, me too. That's where I'll be. Unless I'm doing my other duties, I will definitely be in there having a good time.
You said, Tom, that's Wednesday all day. You've got different
all day
sessions.
Wednesday, the sessions. So why not? What next is a general cadence.
Gotcha. And that's actually a liberating structure in itself, isn't it?
So what now?
That's it. Yeah. I'm impressed, Jeremy. You got it going on with those. Heck yeah.
Yeah, Brian got me really deep into liberating structures. When I was becoming an approved LCI instructor, I didn't even know there was an option, but I got the email back from Chris and he's like, oh, by the way, you're now also approved for liberating structures. I didn't even ask for that. And he goes, yeah, no, Brian said you had to be it though.
Yeah. I got to learn some of the liberating structure concept with Brian via Hal Maycomber. So we actually performed that, the one that you're talking about with the empty seat in the panel. Yeah. That is going to be a blast. That is so much fun. And you talk about ways to just engage the audience and get group thought out into the room. That's it. And folks, if you're not familiar with liberating structures, there's 40 or so free liberating structures out there. It's liberatingstructures.com. And they're basically just ways to engage the room. It's as easy as a 1, 2, 4 all or Troika Consulting. They've got all kinds of different ones. They're free. The concepts are out there. Go look at them, take advantage of them, use them because they are genius. And call Jeremy if you have problems.
Also, Brian threw out the Triz one at Congress a couple years back. It was like that was in Dallas. And he had all the leaders from the COPs get together at Congress. And so Brian got up there and ran this Triz exercise. Like, what the heck is Triz? What's liberating structures? And it was a blast because I won't say exactly what Triz is, but it was like a way of reverse engineering. But the way liberating structures deploys it is I call it creative destruction. And so literally they say, what's the one thing you hope that doesn't happen? What's the major thing that would be terrible if it happened? And then flip the script. Imagine your only job right now is to make that tank. How would you make that worst outcome a reality? How would you make that happen? And it's weird. It's hard for some people to get in that mind shift. But if you give them that freedom to say, how would I tank my job? How would I make buy-in on my project at an all-time low? They'll think of some creative things. And it sounds like you get a little silly, but you're like, you start saying these things like, yeah, I just won't invite to meetings. I'll have siloed discussions. And you start thinking of these things, and then you take a step and say, all right, are there any of those behaviors that we're currently doing reflect any of that might tank this job, that might tank that thing? Let's be reflective here. And then you just go through this process and you help you focus on what you can do next. Like, what is the things that you need to do as a group to avoid that worst outcome? So we're going to have Triz on tap at the Unconference as well.
And I think that's a good point though too, right? It's not just about engaging like conversation. So you can take things from liberating structures, and I apply that to like my last planner sessions. I want to tease out what the constraint is to this milestone. And so you Triz the milestone. How do I get to this point? What am I going to do to tank this milestone? Because if you've ever been in the sessions, that's one of the hardest questions I feel like when I'm going around the room is, what are your barriers? What's holding up work? Oh no, it's fine. I'm good. Come on, man. Tell me what you're worried about. And so if you use Triz to figure that out, people actually start going like, okay, this is actually a problem. I need to look out for it.
Yeah, I absolutely love Triz. To me, it's a lot like a risk assessment. It's a lot. Sometimes I refer to it as a pre-mortem. Like, how are we going to fail this task? But what it does, it allows you to think worst case scenario and then plan for it, like you're saying. And I don't know why we don't use that more often in construction, especially when it comes to lean, because there are a lot of folks who are pessimistic about what we have going on. And so if we can go ahead and identify all those barriers right up front, then we can do something about them. So yeah. I love the Triz exercise as well. Thank you for bringing that up, Tom. That's huge.
It's clarity. It's clarity. For me, that's like one of the goals of lean, right? Is let's get clear about what reality is and what our opportunities are and what our
silent disagreements.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Oh, so we're on the roster still, man.
Yeah, I was just
We
going to
haven't
say,
gotten through.
let's continue shouting out.
We've got some great people here. Right? Everyone stepped up when they were asked. Rebecca Cooley is a local with AOS Interior Environments, and Stephen Dare, so the duo, and also with Lakeen Architects. So Stephen and Rebecca took on the Gemba Day challenge, and we had some awesome Gemba tours that filled up immediately. We've got the Superdome, and that's pretty awesome. There's an expansion going on or a renovation inside, and you got the aquarium, so you get to go over the Shark Tank. There's some awesome tours going on down here. We've got another couple. We got one at Tulane, and Tulane has drank the Kool-Aid on their facility side. They're embracing lean, putting it in RFPs. And then our company, we're hosting one at the Martin Berman Elementary School across the river, which is still New Orleans. But that's an old structure. That's just a cool project with a little historic, a new building, and a team that I'll say, I love their story because we're a company's trying to become a lean builder. And I wouldn't say that we're there yet. And this team tried to take it on midstream, and they had a couple false starts on that. And they finally found some traction. Jeremy started coaching them, and they have a sort of one of their phases, the superintendent in charge of one or two of the buildings, just started doing the huddles and getting to the rhythm. And it's amazing to watch a team in their infancy with lean. And I think that's what's on tap for that Gumbo tour, is talking a lot about the struggles, the successes, and openly as we can. So I'm pretty excited to bring that to the table.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. You got a team that is going to be vulnerable and transparent with their lean journey, and we're all going to learn from that because we've all been there too, right? Failures is where we learn the most, and we're really able to make some hay with this lean stuff. So that's
exactly
awesome. Heck yeah.
It's where the growth is, right?
Amen. What else you got, Tom?
We got Matt Bleakley, who's been
he's Whiting Turner, right?
Yeah, Whiting Turner, and he's going to be on our closing panel for the What Next. We're going to unpanel for that too. And Lloyd Huck is a local as well with Jack's Electric. He's been a great champion with our community of practice. He's helping with the volunteer coordination. He currently had to step back, but that's what happens, right? He was there at the table until the last couple of months, and he's had some issues thrown his way. So we're rooting for him, but we're going to carry on the torch. But he was there from the whole beginning, baking out the theme and making this shape up, making the connections with local universities. Rachel Butcher with Whiting Turner, she also changed careers. This is what happens, right? There's like a company, there's turnover in the planning team too. But she also brought some of that energy to helping us succeed with getting local college students to come to Congress, because we give them this opportunity to help the presentation teams, but really we want them in the seats there listening, so they start their careers with that lean buzz in their ear. Greg Luzion with Broadmoor, so he's the guy who got the chapter started down here. He convinced LCI to take a chance on us when they weren't quite confident that it was worth flying someone down and investing the money just yet. He showed them that it was going to happen. A great little story. They did one of the things that really got the fire down here. They did the business case for lean. And 3 days before the event, they had 4 people signed up, and they're about to pull the plug. And Greg's like, no, just pause. And we ended up having 185 people in that room, paying for lunch. It was an amazing turnaround in a very short time. And you can tell the energy that goes into that. So, that we don't always have 180 people at an event, but people were curious. And so now, that kind of was the fire that started this curiosity in lean. And so he's helping with outreach because he's got the connections to bring 185 people to a table quickly. So he's in that vein. Andy Fulton with the realignment group. And so he's also helping with outreach. He's going to be helping with our Congress Ambassador program. We're calling it the Roving Ambassador. And the idea is you'll find people at Congress with a big button on, and they're the people to go ask. They're the easy button, so to speak. Now, they're not being lean. We're not going to make it completely easy. You got to work a little bit at it. You got to want it. But these are the people who are going to help you find more value at Congress. It should be a dialogue. Tell them what you're interested in, and they'll help tell you where to go, where to find that value at Congress. And then Olivia, and then you got a couple other LCI staff, like Olivia's been great with outreach, with marketing. Eileen Goldberg, who helps us stay financially solvable with all of the sponsorships that we need to keep this going. Dave Hagan is an architect. I believe I've got the old company on here, but Dave Hagan has been a regular. He works with Eileen. Also just brings a lot of energy to the planning team meetings. Joe Donnarummo is our board liaison. And Felipe Engineer Manriquez was our scrum master. So keeping the drumbeat going, keeping it fun. It takes a whole team to make this work. It takes a village, frankly, because this is just the tip of the iceberg, the tip of the spear, so to speak. You've got another 50 champions or so out there helping the presentation teams. You've got the abstract review team that helps basically filter through all the abstracts. It's just like there's at least over 200 volunteers involved with curating this event for another 1,400 people coming to learn and share. So it's amazing to see something like this unfold. I've never seen anything like it, like out there.
There you have it, folks. That is the roux of LCI Congress right now that we just described. I'm looking forward to getting a taste for what that is, because you named some outstanding leaders in that conversation there. I am super excited to find out how it all comes together and what it tastes like. I just bought my ticket last week and I am super, super fired up.
Awesome. I got a question for you, because I think one thing that we want to have happen in Congress is that sharing, right? And you see it. People will share tips with competitors, frankly. It's like people offering up what worked for them, what didn't, having these two-way discussions doesn't come naturally for some people. And I love your phrase on the podcast, lean builders share, because that's what lean builders do. So I want to ask you what it is that you think people need to realize to jump into that mindset.
What a question. My immediate response is that we're all in the same boat. And I didn't realize that until I left my first construction company. I was like, man, they're really messed up over there like that. I don't know what they're doing. And then I joined this other one and I'm like, wait a minute, we're having the same exact problems that they had over there. And so I quickly realized that it's not an individual company thing, that it's an entire industry thing. And so I really think we need to up our game, and it's happening. And I'm super excited to see it happening. Like, we're blurring the lines of companies now. And we have other GCs walking other GCs projects. And 5-10 years ago, that would have been unheard of because of the liability. You're not covered with my insurance, or you're going to steal all my ideas. We need that, right? We need as much R&D, as Harry Schmidt says, in the industry as we can, right? We've got to rip and deploy from everything. Like, the things that are actually working, we need to open up and share. And that's not easy, right? Because there's this fear of, I'm going to lose my competitive advantage, or this person's going to steal all of my trade secrets. I got news for you. It's not a trade secret, right? We are struggling in the industry, and people are literally dying because we are holding our cards close to our chest. And so I'm just excited to see what's happening. I'm excited to see that you guys are leading the charge and doing things just a little bit different. I'm really excited about this liberating structures, the Unconference, as you call it. To me, that's what it's about. We don't need an agenda. We just need to show up. We need to speak what's on our mind. We need to be 100% transparent, respectful, of course, and let the conversations flow. So does that answer your question?
That's a perfect answer.
Perfect answer. I don't know about perfect. Nothing's ever perfect. Jeremy, what are your thoughts there?
Man, so what I'm thinking is, we talked about how we need to rip and deploy, right? I've been using that term just more so because they're R&D. I love that combination, how we use it, especially coming out of the military for myself. And I was talking to Tom about this just this morning. I don't think I have an original thought or idea when it comes to this stuff with lean. It's all stuff that I've learned, I've gathered, I've just absorbed from other people, and then maybe I might tweak it or add a little charisma to it, and then I just try to get it out there in the world, right? Share it with as many people as I can. And that's the whole thing behind it, right? We want to come in, we want to take whatever our name tags off for company, and we want to rip and deploy from each other. Even down here, that's what really got me, I think, hooked into the COP, though. I think it was one of our first COP events many years ago that I went to. I was looking at these guys' planning boards at Broadmoor and said, hey, man, I love that board, man. That's cool. And the guys, oh, sure, here, let me send you the file for it. Here you go. Just right there, boom. Here's the file. Here's how you make it. Here's who you call to get the board made. Just didn't even hesitate to say, hey, man, this is how you make that happen. And I do that all the time. I'll call people within my core group. We're all at different companies, but I've got a problem on my job site. How would you deal with it? Man, here's what I did. Hey, I'm struggling with this. How would you deal with it? Which is what I did. And so we get rid of that whole, hey, we're going to keep these secrets to ourselves, especially that's just another plug for communities of practice, right? Being able to call anybody in these different companies, doesn't matter what company we work for, and just sharing our problems and then giving us some resolutions back, just because we're human, right? We're holding precious what it means to be human. And we're putting that first before anything else to help each other be successful in our industry.
Yeah, there's still this. Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
No, I was going to say, like, the thought that came to mind as Jeremy's talking was Adam Grant's book.
Givers and takers.
That's it.
Yep.
Yeah. And I feel like the lean community, you find a lot of givers. And I don't know if this is naturally, they gravitate to this. And I think that is it. Lean builders are givers. And you find it at Congress, you find it in these circles. And I think it's because that continuous improvement mindset is curious and realizes that if you give into this community, you get so much more out. You get inspiration, you get ideas, you get friendships. You just got to make that step.
And sometimes that's hard, right? Because that means you have to be vulnerable first and you have to put yourself out there on a limb. And some people might take that as being a little bit naive or even stupid. Like, why do I want to put myself out there? Somebody can then take advantage of me. But I often say in lean, the best things are free. And Paul Akers, really the one that helped me discover that. And then I see folks like Felipe and Jason Schroeder. Holy cow, the amount of free intelligence that Jason Schroeder has put out into this world. He is the purest definition of a giver I've ever seen in my life. And to the point where he writes a book and he's got a book for sale. And what does he do? He goes and reads the book on his podcast so people don't have to buy it. To me, that's what lean builders do. And in that book, Adam Grant's book, there's this concept of giving, there's a concept of taking, and then there's a concept of matching. And so, by the way, I love your reading resources, Tom. I'm going to have to get you on here for a little R&D with Tom. Doesn't really rhyme like Harry and Key do, but maybe Tommy. Can I call you Tommy? Is that okay?
God, all my cousins call me that, but all right, we'll see.
I'll be a cuz.
I'll try it out.
But no, I'm a firm believer in givers, not takers. And not even matchers is the third option that he calls, where I'm going to give you, but then I expect to take something. It's just, hey, I'm given from the pureness of my heart and because I want to make this industry a better place. And I often find that it's the people who have been in the field, who have done the work, who have turned the wrench, who are more so the givers than not, because they understand that's the reality of life for some people still to this day. And I'll be honest with you, as much as I tote, hey, go into the skilled trades and this workforce shortage, we're going to solve it. It's a really hard job and it's demanding on your body. And I just love even Jesse Hernandez with his whole sweat equity improvement, making the work easier for the people in the field. That's where it's at. And that's where we all need to align around being just givers to an industry that needs it so desperately.
Agreed.
All right, let's see. You guys have pretty much tackled all of my questions. So if you've tuned in, Jeremy, I know you've seen some of the words that just bug and bother the heck out of me. I'm dying to know, what are those things for you two? What are some phrases or words that you're just like, oh, I just can't stand them?
Change. That word in this context bothers me, in this fact that when you talk about it, we talk about changing people. I am a firm believer that I, Jeremy Atkinson, cannot change you, Adam Hoots. I cannot change you. I can influence you. I can try to motivate you. I can be a leader, right? What the definition of leadership is to provide people purpose, direction, and motivation. But when people get wrapped up around this idea that, hey, you're going to change the industry, I can't change the industry. I can influence the industry. I can do my best to provide people insights, but they have to take that change on themselves, right? They have to make that decision to do something different. And a lot of times what it is that click, something happens and that light bulb goes off. Unfortunately, a lot of times it's a negative experience and then that makes that change. But sometimes that positive experience too, but whatever it is, that's what I love too when I'm leading a last planner session and I see that one trade partner, I see that light bulb go off in him that, oh man, this is great. This is so much better than the way I was doing it before. I didn't change that person there. I influenced him. I provided him purpose, direction, and motivation, but he physically made the change to change that. I prefer to say that I'm an influence maker. That's why they have the term influencers to joke on that word, but I'm not a change maker. I'm an influencer. I like to make sure I influence people in a positive direction versus trying to know I can't change anybody.
I love that. It plays into this culture.
Oh, you want to talk about culture, Adam?
That's the word that's on my mind. No, control is an illusion, right? Change is an illusion. And I've never really thought about it that way. That was said in a little bit of genius coming out.
I know, it's hard to follow, man.
That's impossible to follow, Tom. Good luck.
I'll say, I'm going to pick on one that echoing actually a sentiment from another colleague who I'm trying to get into the lean culture. She's helped us with some diversity and equity discussions, some challenging discussions, both at our chapter, and she's an advocate for diversity, equity, inclusion. And I was telling her about our principles, the lean tenets, with the respect for people in the middle, right? So right back there, that circle. And for her, that term of phrase rings hollow. From her experience, respect is not free-flowing in her professional experience, her life experiences. Too many people wave that banner and don't live by it because it's convenient to say. It's a great marketing tagline to say you are respectful, but your actions don't live it. She likes to say, people will see if your clothes are off. You can talk and say it all day long, but people can see if your underwear is hanging out. I think for me, I still love that. I love the focus on respect. I think it's missing something. I don't want to recraft it here necessarily, wordsmithing it, but for me, my next step logically in my mind is this mutual respect. You got to dive a little deeper. It's what's the word I might use? I can't expect anything from it. It's literally that giver mindset. You have to be willing to give respect without expecting it in return. And so anyway, I'm not hung up on respect for people, but I do see that as it needs a little more reflection maybe to ring true for people.
No, and I'm right, Tom, you're right. That's my thing when I get hung up on the word there is what actions are you taking? How? We just say it all the time. Say it. It comes over, it gets watered down even, right? To the point where you're just saying it. You need to start saying, it's not about what you say, right? Let's stop giving lip service to the word. Let's start looking at what are we actually doing to show that respect for people. And you can call it whatever you want, but what are you doing to treat people right? What are you doing to show that they're valued? What are you doing that makes them, to elevate them? How are you actually showing it? And what actions do you take?
The phrase we like to use is building people to build better, because it's very action forward. Not that I'm going to replace the tenet, but that's how it rings in our mind when we hear it. Respect for people. It's building others around you.
That's a local community of practice saying, building people to build better.
Going to be on our
t-shirts.
T-shirts.
To trademark it.
It's not his T-shirt yet, but it will be. We got 100 or so T-shirts being delivered before Congress. Anyway, that will be on the back of those.
That is fantastic. I love that saying. And there's something about that phrase that has really bothered me for the longest time as well. And I've started saying respect for resources, because I feel like if you value the person, then you're going to respect the resources that are around that person. You're going to give them enough resources. You're going to give them the appropriate resources. And that person, as much as I hate to say this as well, is a resource. They only have so much expendable energy in order to perform their tasks. And if we're asking them to do things 2 or 3 times, or we're not valuing their work or valuing their opinion, then we're not really respecting them as a resource. But I've been dying to look at something different there as well, because you're right, it is watered down. It's been an abused term. And there's been folks who have even admitted that when we borrowed that conversation from Japan, that we didn't really translate it in the most purest definition, right? We don't truly have that respect for humans' existence of just being on this earth, right? They're on this earth for a purpose, for a reason. They can add value in one form or fashion of another. And we've got to, as leaders, extract that and allow that to be. So I love where your head's at. And we're getting, I guess, just crossed the hour or so here. Tom, this one's for you. And specifically towards LCI Congress, what are you worried about there? Do you have any worries, any concerns?
There's a few concerns about everyone returning the next morning without a hangover.
I'm just going to get that one out of your head already. That's going to happen, my man.
Yeah, I know. So hopefully everyone comes back to the hen house. But honestly, that's a good question. I think for me, the worry is someone goes there and just drifts through. That's like the worst outcome of my mind. That's why we're doing the roving ambassadors. We're trying to have a fail safe. So we're telling them, look for the people who look lost. That's your mission when you wear that button. And so for me, that's someone spending they're dedicating the resource to come to Congress. They're taking the time off from work. And I want them to be present, be mindful, and get the most out of it. And there's half of the audience, by statistics, is going to be a first-time attendee. And so it's a big challenge to onboard people in that quick amount of time. So I love the fact you're doing this podcast, and so people can get a little flavor beforehand. But it is like drinking from a fire hose every time. But you don't have to do. I don't know. You've been to a few congresses. What's your tip for people? Because I asked this to our planning team, we always do warm-ups For every planning team meeting, I try and do an icebreaker that is like just in time, that has us in that mindset for something that's important. So what tip would you give people to make the most out of Congress if it's their first time?
Ask questions. If you don't know, it's okay to be vulnerable, be transparent, and just say, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Let me go find somebody in one of those NOLA lean shirts or with the buttons or LCI or just somebody that's look for a lean builder hat. That'll be me roaming around. But people at this conference want to help the industry. And that is why we are all there. And we also understand, and again, to speak to Jeremy's frustration earlier of, hey, that word change, like, we understand that people have to seek change. And so we are not going to be running around saying, oh, you've got to change this and you've got to change that and you've got to do this. No, we're running around, we're learning, we're taking in, I can apply that, I can have a little bit of that, but we're not going to be looking for the opportunity to change somebody. So if you want to change your perspective, speak up and ask questions and just be inquisitive and curious to any and everything you come across. And if you don't know the word, speak up, because chances are somebody else doesn't know that word either. So to me, it's just questions. It's being inquisitive. Hal Maycomer has an amazing saying. He says, don't just do something, stand there, which is the total antithesis of what we've been taught our entire life of don't just stand there, do something. Because now when we see somebody standing there not doing anything, one, they're not messing anything up. Two, it's a sign, right? It's that physical andon cord that we lack in construction to stop the entire process. So when we see people standing around looking a little confused, that's our note that, hey, something is disrupting our process and we've got to go and find out what that is and answer it. Don't just do something, stand there and look confused and ask a question would be my advice.
Awesome. There's a good Jeremy phrase. I love this question that he taught me a long time ago, which is tell me more. Just real simple and humble. Tell me more. I think I would say ask more questions than you give answers at Congress. That's sort of the mindset you want to be in.
Not just at Congress, your whole life. Like, if you're truly listening to people's answers and the responses to you, you're going to find that next question. And that's something that Jen and Jess talk about all the time, is that next question could potentially save somebody's life too. If you're paying attention, people are very intentional with their words and their actions. And when you use your emotional intelligence to pick up on exactly what they're talking about, oh man, the conversations can get deep and helpful.
Indeed.
So let me hit pause real fast and just a quick reflection on where we are. Is there anything that we haven't covered? Maybe you want me to tee you up with a question, make sure that we can really knock this thing out of the park?
We hinted at some stuff about like being mindful of what our purpose is. Might be worth talking about mission a little bit, like the idea of a mission. Because Landis has an interesting mission that just, I think, rings true for Congress too. One of our mission statements is we build our business by building lasting relationships. And it's every company has their own mission, but I think the Congress mindset, or just that learning mindset in general, if you don't have a mission in mind, I feel like it's hard to be purposeful with that growth. Once you can align on a mission, makes it so much easier to weigh your opportunities against that. So I don't know if that's something that would dovetail in here, but
Tom, you make me want to start talking about personal mission statements. Everyone needs a personal mission statement.
But I think that's another Congress tip, frankly, is have an open agenda to a degree, but know what you're hoping to get out of lean and have an idea when you come in. And it's hopefully going to change by the time you walk out that door, but start with something.
Yeah. So I coach my son's baseball team, and as the kids are walking up to the park, before they're allowed to come out of the dugout, I say, what do you plan on getting better with today? And so every day they'll give me some BS answer like fielding. It's like, hey, there's a lot of different ways you can field a ball. Are you doing like backhands? Are we rushing the ball? Are we fly balls? So I love where you're at. If you're going to go and spend time, money, energy, all of this to get to New Orleans, to get in front of a bunch of lean leaders, what's your intention? What are you trying to do with that? Yeah, I think that's huge to have a mission, to have a goal. And to be open to allow that to change, man, that's so crucial, Tom, because Charlie Dunn with DPR has often told me, you got to love the problem and not the solution. So we're talking about studying the problem a little bit, right? Like when we get to lean, what are we trying to learn from everything that we have going on? I love where your head's at. How do you recommend people develop a mission for getting to LCI? Or what does that look like?
The simple answer that comes to mind is fix what bugs you.
Paul Akers.
That's what happened.
And frankly, I was trying to figure out a way to, because they give me like 9 minutes to talk to you all in the big session before you're off to the races. And I'm thinking about doing a mentee to possibly even ask people like one thing that bugs them, or one thing that might stop them from focusing on Congress. What's that one thing that's got you hung up, and put it in a mentee pool. But I may not go there, but that's fix what bugs you is probably an easy way to reflect on what you might be hunting for at Congress.
That's an awesome point. And that's a Paul Akers saying too, of, hey, that's how you want to get lean. Just fix what bugs you. Very easy. That makes me think of his story with the lawnmower. Are you guys familiar with that?
Oh yeah. I had one of my superintendents try to recreate that after he read the book.
It's a great video too. That's what I love about Paul Akers. He got tired of getting grass in his garage, so he created an undercarriage spray down for his lawnmower before he put it in his garage. That's awesome.
Well, cool. Yeah, cool story with that there too, right? Fix what bugs you, but it doesn't have to be about work, right? You can lean your life. Fix what bugs you. So even talk about what do you want to get into. It doesn't have to be what's bugging you at work. It could be what's bugging you at home. What's there? There's solutions there. I think that this offers the way we think. Change the way you think, not just about work, but the way you approach the problems in life in general.
Yeah, having a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset is everything. Heck yeah, I want to give you guys both the opportunity to just mic drop this thing and take it in any and every direction that you want to. So maybe we'll let Tom, since he's our fearless Congress leader, go last. Jeremy, how would you mic drop this conversation? What do you want to leave the listeners with here?
I'll say this, it's my theory for leadership, being a servant leader. I've been a leader probably most of my life, whether from Pee Wee wrestling captain through high school to RTC to the military and then into these positions now. I've been in some form of leadership position, and the lessons I've learned is being a servant leader is what matters. The definition of leadership is provide people purpose, direction, and motivation. That's that provide word that's in there. And one of the best ways I feel like you can be a servant leader to people is you got to elevate people, right? Elevate everyone around you, lift people up, celebrate their wins or successes above everything else. And if you want somebody, it's amazing how if you just lift somebody up a little bit, right, they will meet that expectation, right? They will feel that elevation and they will grow to that. And it even goes to, I had one of my superintendents I work with now, he's an amazing superintendent. And he took over the job as just an assistant superintendent. And we're just working with him all the time. And he was doing great things. I was watching him at the planner boards. I was taking pictures of him at the planner boards as he was doing stuff. And then I was calling our boss and saying, hey, man, look at this guy. He's doing amazing things. Look at him. He's ready. He's up here. He's leading the planning boards. He's doing these awesome things. This guy needs to be a superintendent. When are we going to make him a superintendent? And eventually we got him to that superintendent role. And he's just, from there, has just skyrocketed. He's growing, getting better and better every day. And so the idea behind it, if we're leaders, what we need to do is all I ask is elevate not just those around you, but underneath you. But hey, elevate the people at top. I do it to Tom all the time. He doesn't even realize it. He's sitting there. He might be struggling with something. I'm telling Tom how awesome he is, how much I look to him, how much he mentors me. I make sure he knows that because I know that if I continue to elevate him, he's going to continue to grow.
Hey, brother. Man. Getting me choked up already.
That's what lean builders do, man. Hell yes, Jeremy. That was amazing. I love it.
That's my mic drop.
Nailed it. Sorry to keep putting you in this position, Tom.
Man, where'd it go? My mind is like scattered right now because there's so many different things.
I'll give you the easy way out. Just look at Jeremy and say, look what I started. Huh?
That's absolutely true. This all started because of Tom. Absolutely.
Yeah. I will give you.
Continues to highlight.
I'll do that for my mic drop because I'll say this. It was interesting. Jeremy has always been like a little outward going, right? More than me. I'm more introverted. And when we first started working together, he wanted to go get a drink to kind of like fill me out, I think, a little bit when he knew I was going to be his quote unquote boss. And as we got to like work side by side for battle buddies, as he calls it, it's just been amazing to watch his growth and his curiosity. And frankly, came at a time when I was trying to be that lean champion for our company and bring this, and to have someone actually like with his enthusiasm come to the table was an amazing experience for me. That could have been a better situation. And now I get to watch him go out there, and he's like, this last year, you may know, he brought to fruition a relationship we were building over time with associated builders and contractors here. And most of them were industrial contractors, wanted nothing to do with lean, could care less. And Jeremy finally got a 5-series learning series with them and filled every one of them. And it's just amazing to watch that take off. I don't know, man. I don't know the analogy. It's kind of tending to the garden, so to speak. But to watch someone like Jeremy blossom gives me hope that like what I'm doing is impactful. And I'm like in his glow, watching him take off. And more power to our companies. We've got these 2 lean champions in energy, but really we give a lot of our energy out to the community. And so if I'll do a mic drop, it's that. I have been blown away by the willingness of other experts in this community to give their time, their precious time, to these couple of dudes down in New Orleans trying to do something with lean and make something powerful. And I could just rattle off a bunch of names between Rex Miller, Dan Fauché, of course, Felipe, and it's been incredible. So if you ever get called on or tapped to have a leadership role at LCI, volunteering for one of these things, do it, because you will learn so much, and you'll have some lasting relationships on the other end of that.
It's amazing. That was well done. Way to cap him up here. I'm curious, Jeremy, who is that superintendent? Because it almost sounds like that torch might be getting a little light for you here and being passed on to him. Who's that superintendent you were talking about?
There's 3 of them now at this point. And I'll shout out to them. It's my buddy Mark, Lucas, and Eric. Those are the 3 guys I'm working with right now. And it's just amazing to see them both grow and see them both dive in. And they did. And I got to throw Gary in there too, over at the Berman team. All these guys that they're curious. All of them are curious. And that's the thing. They're always asking questions, and then they're trying stuff too. And I'll put a post of it later LinkedIn today, but I felt like such a proud papa the other day when instead of me leading the morning huddle, I took a step back and I said, basically just kind of let Eric run the show. And I look at Eric. Eric's never gone through an intro to last planner class before. Eric's just observed and part of it. And I'm going to take another step back too. I remember when this is his first job officially as a superintendent. I walk into his job site office. He's already got the boards up. He's got his plan and sticky notes. He's got his zones marked out. And I was expecting to come in there and work with him on this stuff. And I walk in there and he's got all the stuff already there. And he's already working on it. He's got a plan in his head. And so jump forward now too. I take a step back to lead the morning huddle. He's up there, man. You could tell he's commanding the morning huddle. He's getting the information out of. He's hitting all the right steps, keeping it in that 15 minutes. And then what's great too, after that, morning huddle's over, people still stuck around. That's always a good sign. Hey, the morning huddle's over. People are going to stick around. They just want to shoot the shit, want to talk. And he did that. So he's got that on the job site, right? And then Lucas. So Lucas too, and we got to videotape this time. But so Lucas was tired of always, because look, in every job, what do? You move stuff around. Constantly moving offices, you're in the building. Lucas got tired of doing that. So he said, I'm going to take this box. And he built this entire mobile superintendent box. It folds up everything in there.
It's like Transformers.
It's like a transformer box, man. It is so cool. You can provide power. He's even got Bluetooth speakers in there. He's got the TV that pops out so you can show our videos. And he put this all together, all on his own. And the other thing is, too, he wasn't expecting to get reimbursed for any of those materials. He was just tired. He fixed what bugged him. All right, fine. I'm going to make sure I take care of you. I make sure it all got paid for, to make sure that he got taken care of. And then Mark is the guy that said that, man, just an amazing individual, watching him grow. And he's got great people skills too. Usually he's pretty quiet, right? But now he's starting to see him come out more, and he's starting to be more vocal. And watching him at those boards when I was working with him was just an amazing talent, because he just knows how to work people and knows how to get stuff out of people, right? Talk about a horse trade on stuff. He just knows how to do that. And I don't know if the way he talks to people or what, but he will get stuff done by just working with other people that's out there. And I love the fact that he was so willing to come and do a presentation with me too. I was nervous asking him. I thought he was going to tell me no, but he did. He said, yeah, sure, man, I'll do this presentation with you. And our whole presentation is about how we messed something up, by the way, too. So that's the other thing too. We're both being very vulnerable about how on the last job we were on together, we royally screwed something up, but our company said, hey man, we're not going to blame you. We'll blame the process. How are you going to fix it? And so to see him to actually take the time to step out and present with me is just an amazing thing for me to watch in his growth as well.
Man, I can speak from experience. What we're doing here is working, because I'm getting fired up. I have certainly enjoyed just feeling the energy between you two. I feel smarter. I feel better. I am Super excited to hang out with y'all in New Orleans and get a little Cajun flavor myself. Maybe have some gumbo. I don't know.
Man, if you stay for the weekend, we'll have to go kayak fishing.
Yeah, I'm coming
Get
in the
immersed.
weekend before, and I'm actually bringing my wife with me too.
Me?
She's dying to get a little flavor of New Orleans, and
Awesome.
we're gonna experience
Kids?
it the weekend before. No kids, no way.
Okay.
Uh-uh.
Okay. You're doing it that kind of New Orleans. All right.
Yeah, Mardi Gras,
Man.
right?
Yeah. Man, that's what I'm worried about though, is I got all my friends. So I've made hundreds of friends now, and they all are so special to me, from you to Blake to Felipe, Jesse, Jen. The list goes on and on. Rafa, all these guys, they're all coming to my home. And when people come to my home, what do I want to do? I want to show them everything. Let's go to Frenchman. Let's go to the French market. Let's go to Morning Call. Let's go out in the bayou. All this stuff that I normally do when people come in. I know I don't have the time. I want to take everybody everywhere and spend every night with all these people. And that's my one sad thing is I keep asking me, just stay a little longer, stay the next week. Just after Congress, stick around. Let's go hang out. Let me show you some culture. Let's go to Tipitina's. Let's go catch some music on Frenchman, man. You got to stay a little while longer though.
I'll definitely gladly accept a list of any recommendations from you. There's a little spot called Cocoa Dry. Yeah. So taking my wife down there, we're going to see some of the saltwater fishing. We're going to go have a good little time down there.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm fired up. I've never been to New Orleans, so I'm planning to learn. I plan to eat. I plan to just have a good time, maybe dance a little bit, some jazz music.
Yeah. You got to go up to Mulat's. It's right near the hotel too. So Mulat's, I think they still do it on Friday nights to do Cajun Zydeco dancing.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah. I remember going there as a kid. My parents would take me out there and eat, and it's just always fun to watch my parents get up and dance around the dance floor.
What kind of dancing is it?
Zydeco, and I don't know, there's a little bit of country western to it a little bit, but Zydeco's got the washboard sounds to it, the banjo kind of stuff. So you'll get up and move.
There's a little beat, a little rhythm. I can move my hips to it.
You won't be able to stop. You won't be able to stop yourself.
I love it. Thanks, guys. I appreciate the time. Y'all are phenomenal. I am confident that we're going to have a blast in New Orleans because of your leadership. So thank you for everything you're doing, and continued prayers, good energy, positive vibes coming to you to just finish this thing out as strong as you started.
Yeah. And same to you guys up there with the storm and stuff, man. So much love to you guys, and I hope everything goes okay up there. So
indeed.